Hey, Shiro Entrepreneur, are you down with S.O.P? Your answer should be, yeah, you know me. I know that's corny. But if you're not an 80s baby, just forget I ever said that and just join me on today's episode as we talk about it.
Welcome to the Money, Marketing, and Freedom Secrets podcast, the show that equips Shero entrepreneurs with powerful strategies and inspiration to launch, manage, and grow successful online businesses. You'll discover the secrets to mastering all the moving pieces of your online business so you can be free to enjoy life and show up to serve the people who need you now while making a good living doing what you love. Now, it's time to unleash your inner Shero and free yourself from the web of confusion and overwhelm so you can master your client-getting, profit-winning superpowers and live your profitable purpose. Here's your host.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Money, Marketing, and Freedom Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Kenya Halliburton, and I have an awesome show for you today. At least I think it's awesome. So I have a lot to cover with you today. Today, I'm going to be talking about the topic, the very important topic of SOPs, which stands for Standard Operating Procedures. So we're going to get into a little bit of that, have a great affirmation for you and a great freedom resource for you for today. So you definitely want to stay tuned to the end. Before we get started, I would like to give you an update on the hands-free marketing project that I am embarking on, which is to set my business up to be able to market on autopilot in 180 days. So today's update is more of just something sweet that I just want to share with you because I'm just really excited about it. So a friend of mine is a biographer. She, I don't know exactly what to call it, but so if you're someone who, has parents who are a little bit up in age, or even if they're not, up in age yet, and you want to capture some memories, you want to capture their essence, you want to kind of hear their stories and be able to listen to their voice after they passed away. I know my mom passed away several years ago, and I would love to just be able to hear her voice again, you know what I mean? So anyway, what she does is she will interview your parents for you, or you for your children, so that you can capture their voice, and be able to listen to it forever. And what she does is she can, record it for you. And she's also actually done this to actually turn this into a book for her godfather. So anyway, she started this business doing this, and she bought a high-powered microphone to be able to, capture the recording really well so she could, write it out or whatever. And so, she works full-time as well. And so I told her that I was doing this podcast, and she so graciously let me use her microphone to record this. And so if you've listened to past episodes where the voice quality was kind of echoey, that was probably why, because I didn't have a great microphone. And that was actually on one of my to-do lists, is to get a really great microphone. I hadn't done it yet, but now I have one that I can use until I get one for myself. So if the voice quality is better, hooray, that's why. Right, so that's the only update for now. I'll give you another update on some of the other stuff that's happening in terms of setting my business. But that was a big win, I thought. I don't know, maybe it's just me. But that's really cool. Before we get into today's topic, the teaching part of it, I want to just kind of set the stage. We have with our businesses, when you're setting up your business, there just typically is a lot going on. You're wearing a lot of different hats. And, it's hard to keep up with it all. You have passwords and all of this kind of stuff. And it, sometimes you have it on your hard drive. Sometimes you have it in the cloud. Sometimes it's in your head, and you don't know which is where sometimes when you actually need it. And so today's topic, creating a standard operating procedure, is going to be a really great, and I don't want to say shift, because to some degree I feel like we already know this, but we just don't do it because it feels like extra work, or daunting and overwhelming. So we're going to talk about that today. But I wanted to start off by kind of setting the stage. So, when I was working a regular 9 to 5 as an administrative assistant, I worked for several companies. And the last company I worked for, I came in and it was a medical billing company, and it was a small business. I mean, this is a brick and mortar business, okay? So they have employees, payroll, all of that kind of stuff, and they were running long before I showed up on the scene. But the thing that actually I noticed was that, there was no kind of place for me to go to kind of learn how to do different things. I mean, they were just kind of figuring it out or doing it as they went, but there was no like place where you could go to figure out, okay, how do I file? What's the system for filing? What's the system for this or that? And typically when you go to work for somebody, they give you that, the employee handbook, right? And that has some information on it in terms of like onboarding you and, lunch breaks and different stuff like that or whatever. So it had that information. But in terms of like when I actually got into the job, the day-to-day task of running the business, a lot of that was not systemized. It wasn't documented anywhere. And so a lot of times if one person was on vacation, nobody knew what to do because there was no documentation for how to complete that particular job function or task while that person was away. And so one of the things that I did while I was there was say, because it was driving me crazy, which means that it was a really big issue because, I'm a creative brain person, and at least then I didn't see myself as a kind of organizer, but apparently I was. And so I organized and created a standard operating procedure manual to have in place so that I could know what I was doing, and when I was away, when I was on vacation or I had a day off, I didn't have to worry about people from the office calling me like, Kenya, how do you do this? Where is this? So that's what I did. And, as I transitioned to actually creating my own company, for some reason that was really important to me, I guess because I had done that and experienced how important it is to the smooth functioning of an organization to have a place where things that you do, the day-to-day things that you do to run your business is actually documented. And so as I started my own business, I always had this habit of documenting things and organizing things in a way that can be easily accessed. And over time, I got more deliberate and intentional about really bringing those systems and things together. So I say all of that to say that is the reason why today's topic I feel is so important, because most online business owners do not have standard operating procedures in place. Do you? Do you have a standard operating procedure in place? Do you really even kind of know what that means? If so, please comment and let me know. But if not, it's okay. We're going to talk about how you do that and some things you need to think about today on today's show. So first of all, what is a standard operating procedure? Okay. A standard operating procedure is really kind of the culmination of everything related to managing your business. Okay. So basically, anytime you find yourself doing something over and over again, you or someone else, you should document it. Okay. So things like, if you are blogging, okay, you set up a blogging strategy for your business. Well, what is the process from taking it from an idea to an actually finished, published blog? Okay. The beauty in having an operating procedure for that is that, you can set yourself up to hire someone, bring someone else on to take over that function, even if you're not there. Okay, so or just to free you up to do some other things that you absolutely would enjoy doing. So it provides freedom for you. It provides you with an easy way to train people when you bring them on. So we'll talk about that in a bit too. First of all, why don't most businesses have this in place? Well, first of all, kind of what I mentioned earlier, it feels like a time consuming project. It just feels like, who has time to be, create an outline of what it takes for me to, shoot and publish my video, or to, send out an email, or to respond to a request from a client. Like, I just have so much to do that just doesn't even sound fun. Another reason why you may not have a standard operating procedure in place is that the people that maybe you hire they want to build in some job security for themselves. So in other words, if you have a standard operating procedure or standard operating procedures in place that outline what it is they do and how they do it, they may feel threatened, like, it's easy to replace them if you know their process. But a good shift to make, especially if you start to say, if you have a team and you want to start asking them to document their processes, and if you get a little pushback, first of all, that's a sign that something may not be right, because a person on the up and up will recognize that actually creating standard operating procedures for their job actually makes them more valuable. In my eyes, if I had someone who especially proactively created and documented their tasks and things for me, I would highly appreciate it. I would want them to continue to do it. Maybe not even just for their job function, but if I hired other team members, I would want them to, lead the charge of helping them document their stuff too. The more documentation, the better, because it just makes it easier for you. And there's a huge benefit that maybe most people don't think about that I'll share here as we wrap up here. Those really are the big ones. Team members feeling like they're going to lose their job because, they have mapped out their trade secrets and all of that kind of stuff. So those are some of the reasons. You feel like it's too time consuming, and so you don't do it. Also that you don't know to do it, and the people that are working for you may be a little bit intimidated about or threatened about setting that up for you. Okay, with all of that said, why even bother creating standard operating procedures? Well, obviously, like I said, the key benefit is that it will free you up to do more of the stuff that you enjoy doing, more of the things in your business that actually need you. You can free up time for other team members, training other people, where if you have a go-to place for people to go to figure out something, say somebody emails you a question about how to do something in your business, and you can just send them a link to go look it up, or they can do that proactively. And if there's any gaps missing, they can contact you about that. It's a much more efficient way to run a business. What is another reason why you would want to set this up? Well, first of all, one of the things that people don't really think about is that an S.O.P, having standard operating procedures, will allow you to also sell your business at some point at a really great price. Now, I know people that sell their businesses without standard operating procedures in place. I mean, if the business is making money. But how much more valuable would your business be if you could say, put your business for sale and say, look, hey, not only is it coming with this built-in income stream, but it's coming with how to do everything. So if for whatever reason your people don't go with the business, your team members or whatever don't, roll over with the new management, they can hire their own by way of the documentation that you have set in place. It would be really easy to just, transfer everything over. So it just makes it more valuable. And I know some of you are like, I can't even imagine selling my business. This business is my baby. But you never know. One day you may feel like, you've done everything that you wanted to do and accomplish with your business. And you might say, you know what, I'm ready to move on and do something else, explore some other dreams and aspirations. And so that is just something to think about, because it'll make things really easy for you and help you make a good, nice, fat profit. So It also means that other people can step in and do your work. So I keep talking about this, and I'm going to drill this into the pavement because I think this is the key here, because I talk a lot about freedom, and this is really key for me. Other people can step in and do your work. So not only do you want to document the things that other people are doing, you want to document the things that you're doing, the things that you do on a day-to-day basis to run your business, because then you don't have to feel like you're a prisoner of your business, like you can't break away because only you know how to do something. If you want something done right, you got to do it yourself, all of that kind of stuff. Well, now if you want something done right, people can go look at the S.O.P that you wrote based on what it is you do, and they can get it right just like you do, right? So I think we all win with that. And another great benefit of having an SOP in place is that, from time to time we lose enthusiasm, passion, motivation. We got stuff going on in our lives that, our brains aren't that sharp. I know this happens to me quite a lot. I hate to admit that, but, especially as a woman, you have, certain things that happen every month that sometimes can affect your brain juice. So, having a manual or some sort of guide in place that can take the pressure off your brain so you can get your stuff done is a really, really great, valuable benefit for you and the people that you may have working for you. And also, when you are hiring people, this is a big one. When you're hiring people to come in to work in your business, like an intern or a virtual assistant, having procedures in place, standard operating procedures in place, that they can come and see how your business runs is helpful for you, because a lot of people, and I talked about this in my show about hiring your own virtual team, it's one of the reasons why people don't hire people and keeps them from actually bringing on people is because all of the stuff is in their head. And I know a lot of us are one person shows, one woman shows, one man shows, and we're doing everything. And, it can feel a little, frustrating to think that every time you bring on somebody, you have to actually take time out of your schedule to train them to do something. And so a lot of times we shackle ourselves to our business feeling like, well, I don't have time to train anybody. I'll just do it myself, and drive myself crazy and burn myself out. And, we don't do that. So it'll keep you happier, and your happiness is a byproduct of having this in place. Okay. It's the result of having this in place. Happier, healthier, more profitable, all of that fun stuff. First of all, where do you start if you want to create this? Okay. How do you start creating your SOP? Well, first of all, you can start with just a pen and paper and really just looking at, okay, a task, okay, like you're emailing somebody, about possibly working for them, okay, and maybe you do that several times a week. If you want to know what you need to document, if you do something more than once, that's an indication that you need to document it as a standard operating procedure. So start there. Start by writing out the different tasks that you do, okay, that you actually do, and maybe the different tasks that you want to do. Now, the thing about an SOP is it's a living, growing thing. You want to kind of cover your bases just to start, but it's something that's going to be constantly growing. So don't feel like you have to have everything documented all at once. All right. Just, as you go, think about like, oh, you know what? I probably need to create a procedure for this because I've done this, a couple of times. So once you kind of map out, get a general idea of, some of the tasks and things that you want to document and set up, then the next thing is, okay, so where do I keep this information? Because ideally you want to have your standard operating procedures somewhere where everybody can access them. So like kind of in the cloud. So what is the best tool to use? Do I use like Google Docs? Do I use like, what about some project management tool? And then that's when things get dicey, because anytime you have to actually choose from which technology to use, that's when you start getting that paralysis. I know most people have that paralysis because you just don't know what to choose. Do you choose something free? Do you choose something paid? How do you navigate that? And quite frankly, most people choose wrong. And I'm going to give you the tool that I recommend when we get to the freedom resource. That's our freedom resource for today. But ideally, when you're choosing something, you want it to be a tool that all of your virtual team members, including yourself, even if you don't have team members right now, you want to think futuristic, because at some point you're going to hire somebody to do something either long-term or project-based. So you still want to have something like that in place. And again, you don't want it to be like a Word document on your computer, because God forbid it crashes or something crazy happens and it's all gone forever. You don't want that to happen. It needs to be something that's easy to update, okay? That's easy for everybody to kind of update in real time, so you don't have to download something, change it, and re-upload it. You don't want any of that. And again, you want to make sure that you're going to build it as you go. This is an ongoing process, ongoing process. So don't kill yourself or overwhelm yourself trying to figure out, how to do everything at once and document everything at once. So what kind of stuff should you put in your standard operating procedure? First of all, key personnel, key contacts. You definitely want to have some sort of resource list for the key people that need to be, that are key in operating different parts of your business, even if it's like on a subcontract basis. So maybe you have a web designer or a graphic designer that you contract with from time to time. Maybe you have a full-time VA, maybe you have an intern, you have yourself. So just have a list, a place where people can go if they need to reach something. So that way they don't have to contact you for everything, right? If somebody has to constantly email you and you're busy doing stuff and now you got to answer this person's email and you're out doing something and you don't have access to that information, well, now that project or whatever it is they have to do is bottlenecked because they're waiting for you to get back to them. So you want to eliminate that from happening by having resources from them to access whenever they need to. List of tools and passwords. Oh my goodness, I have so many passwords and tools and technologies that I have purchased or signed up for over the years. And oh my goodness, if I did not have this resource that I'm going to share with you in a bit, I don't know what I would do, because it's just, you accumulate so much stuff in the course of building and trying to grow your online business that it's just hard to keep it straight. And what ends up happening, and I know this has happened to you, so don't front, you hire somebody or you bring somebody on to do something for you, and the first thing they ask you for is your passwords, and you have no idea where they are or what they are. So now you got to go resetting stuff, and then when you try to access something later, you forget that you reset it, and it's just a big mess. So to avoid all of that, I recommend having your passwords, not your sensitive stuff. And this is where you kind of want to make sure that you have something that can lock access or only give access to certain people that you trust or that have some sort of agreement with you. But you don't want to put maybe passwords to PayPal in where everybody can access it, your bank account stuff, like nothing like that. But web tools and things like that, you definitely want to make sure that you have a place to go. Courses that you sign up for, all of that, you need a place for it to store it. So websites, hosting information, webinar and teleclass technologies that you use. You also want to include templates that maybe you use for like regularly used emails, web pages, blog pages, thank you pages, things like that. Okay. And of course, how-tos, how to do this, how to do that, how to issue a refund, how to deal with a irate client or, something like that, how to, I don't know, put a video on your website even the simplest things. And it's not even that you have to do this. One of the cool things that I do, because, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Pretty much everything is on the web has almost already been done. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll search for a YouTube video where somebody has already demonstrated something. Or sometimes if it's like a tool, like my podcasting intern, I use Audello, and Audello comes with training. So if she gets stuck on something, I will just say, okay, I need to link this up in my SOP. And then I'll just create a document for it and put that link in the document so that, anybody else going forward that I hire has that issue, they can just go find it, click the link, and get the video. Okay. So it can be as simple as that. And so it's important. I mean, just you have to kind of play it depending on what your organization setup is. You don't have to document every little detail because you're going to assume that some people should have the technical know-how or savvy to do some of the things that you're hiring them for. Okay. But some of the basic things, like for me, my podcasting intern, this is a kind of a newer project. So I want to make sure that going forward, people have the tools and the things that they need to do. And I know kind of how things step through step by step. So just in case, for whatever reason, all fail safes are off and it's just back little old me doing everything, I can still kind of muddle my way through all the millions of steps, but I know what they are and I can just get them done, quickly, or, manage them over the course of several days or whatever. I think that's it for my tips. So what I'm going to do is, guess what? It's time for our freedom resource. So this is the fun part for me. I nerd and geek out on this kind of stuff because I love anything that makes life easier in the long run. So our freedom resource for today is Podio. Podio is a collaboration tool that allows you to create SOPs. It really allows you to manage the back end of your online business. And so I call Podio your virtual office. So like I kind of mentioned earlier about the story of me working for a brick and mortar company, and kind of how you go into the office and, the copy machine is there, the manual for this is there, the computer is there, that's where you go to run the day-to-day business stuff. Well, this is your virtual office. We have online businesses, we work from home, we need somewhere that we can go to look at what we have to do for the day, to handle any communications with our team, to interface with our team, to share files, to find files, to do everything that we need to do to run our business, or have access to the things that we need to run our business. And so I call this your virtual office. So Podio will allow you to set up your virtual office and create standard operating procedures. Now, I don't have time to get into everything that Podio does, but just for the purposes of this particular topic that we're talking about today, you definitely want to check out Podio. Now, one of the things I will mention with Podio is people get really excited when we first set it up, my clients, when we first set this up. And I will admit, myself included, when I first set Podio up, when my friend Zeph Zan, who was actually, I had an opportunity to interview on the show, she told me about Podio, and I set up Podio, and at the time I wasn't as organized. I wasn't this organizational advocate that I am now, and I kind of resisted that because I felt like, I got everything in my head, I'm good, and then life started happening, and then my head wasn't so great to store things. But she, when I first set it up, I liked it. I thought it was great, but I was like, it just felt kind of like an extra thing to do, until I started playing around with it a little bit more. And I was like, oh man, I can store all my passwords here. Oh man, I can, set up my editorial calendar here. Oh man, I can manage my team here. I can actually link this form to my email marketing campaign so that, or my products, so that when people sign up, they automatically get into my virtual office so I can manage my clients in here, and keep track of our communications and just, oh my goodness, a bunch of stuff. And so, but for this purpose of today's topic, this is where you can start building your S.O.P. Actually, this is where I recommend you building your S.O.P. Podio is free to use, up to 5 members. And if you're an online business owner, you won't get to 5 members, And a friend of mine, we laughed about this the other day. We were like, we feel so bad about this because how do they make their money? Because I have not paid for anything. And usually when you have a tool that has something for free, there's some restrictions. Please don't tell them that I'm telling you guys this, because then they'll start to change it to where you have to pay for stuff and locking stuff up. So I don't want that to happen. So keep this a secret. But we were like, man, how do they make money? And really, Podio, I don't think is necessarily designed for entrepreneurs. So we kind of slip under the radar, which I love. Podio is really kind of geared towards mid-sized businesses to corporations with bigger teams. And so they charge by, after 5 members, they charge per person. And even that is really cheap. It's $9 a month per team member or something. They do have some small restrictions in terms of how you can lock people, give people different levels of access. So, if you want to upgrade just for that purpose, you can, and it's still very nominal, $9 a month, but it's such a powerful tool. So definitely check out Podio for setting up your S.O.P. or set up a conversation with me so we can have a consultation on how you can further use that. That's our freedom resource for today. All right, it's time for our affirmation of the day. Okay, so today's affirmation is I am intentional and deliberate about designing my business so that it can run with or without me. This is a very powerful affirmation because it really is saying that you're really honoring yourself. I read a book by a gentleman by the name of T. Harv Eker. He wrote The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind. And he was just kind of talking about how he set up his first sports store. It was one of his first successful ventures. And he said that he spent for the first 6 months, I think, you couldn't get him out of the store. If you wanted to find him, he was in that store. Okay. That was the flagship store. And he spent all of his time in there creating systems, documenting everything, making sure everything ran smoothly. And then for the next 6 months, you couldn't find him there because he had spent the first 6 months, and it was something like 6 months. It might have been longer than that, but whatever. For the first chunk of time, he spent, just being like a tiger, setting up systems, okay, and probably sleeping there, I don't know. And then once those systems and documentation and things were set up, the store didn't need him anymore. Didn't need him for it to run. So now he had not only created freedom for himself to go and do other things, but now he had created a blueprint that could be used to franchise that chain. And I'm not sure whether he did that or not, but if you think about franchises like McDonald's or Burger King or Starbucks or whatever, they have very tight systems and documentation that allows them to make it really easy for you or I to go and say, you know what, I want to open up a Starbucks. Here's my money. I don't know exactly how it works, but you get a franchise and you can run it and have repeat that success. This allows you, systems like this allows you to repeat your success over and over and over again, which is what you want. So setting up your business to run with or without you is key to creating long-term success. Now, if you want to make a job for yourself versus a business, then more power to you. But if I wanted a job, I would just go apply somewhere to go work for somebody. Okay, so it's really important that you take the time to understand your business. I mean, honestly, creating SOPs help you to understand how your business operates better. I mean, you don't have to be like in the trenches of every little thing, but understanding how things connect. And again, if you have to jump in and take the reins from time to time, you know how to do it, and you're not in a panic like, oh my God, I can't contact my web designer and I need to put this video up and I don't know how. Well, now you have a documentation. Now, do you want to do that on a day-to-day basis? Probably not. But if you have to, or somebody else on your team has to jump in and get it done, they can do it because that information is there for them to walk step by step to get it done. So that's all I have to share with you today. I hope that you found that valuable. If you have more questions about creating an SOP or setting up your virtual office, contact me so we can have a chat, a 15-minute chat about it, or offer a 45-minute discovery session that's a little bit more in depth, because you might need a little bit more than an SOP. So we can talk about that, or join my Action Mind community on Facebook. I would love to have you there. We talk about a lot of things. We mastermind and action mind, which means we put our ideas in motion, help each other get it done with accountability and get it in action. So join me there. You can see the link on your screen, or you can find the link anywhere on my blog or in the links for this video if you're watching it on YouTube. And if you're listening to this on some syndicated network like iTunes, Stitcher, or something like that, you can visit KenyaHalliburton.com to check this out. Also, can't forget to mention, go to KenyaHalliburton.com to sign up for upcoming episodes so you don't miss one, and actually have an opportunity to suggest topics that you want to see me talk about, or ask questions that you want answered on the show. So I thank you for hanging out with me. And for those of you who are interested, check out the hands-free marketing webinar if you're interested in learning how to join me on this journey for setting my business up to be on autopilot for the next 6 months to a year. That information, there's a free training webinar that you can get by going to KenyaHalliburton.com and signing up for that, and that will actually automatically sign you up for the podcast. All right, so there's just a bunch of ways to connect. Feel free to choose the way that's most convenient for you. All right, until next time, I wish you an abundance of success as always, and much